Hi everybody. So, I've kind of been down and out for a little bit, very stressed out at my last job, got a new job, and this one I love. So, I am back at the epoxy. Um, I was just messing with, it comes with the heating. It was, I bought this little hand frother. It's like a milk frother, but it advertises that it's good for mixing epoxy. And with my hands, I just had wrist surgery, so I'm trying to make things easier on my hands. So I bought this. It's got this tip, and then it also has this tip. So we're going to try it with this one. It spins pretty fast when it's not in anything, so we're going to keep it on low speed. I did something that I don't usually do. I bought it and I didn't read the reviews. Now I'm wishing I had, because it comes with this little heating pad here to heat up the resin to get rid of the bubbles. See that? There's no heat. It doesn't heat up at all whatsoever. Yeah, I will be leaving this video as a review. Yeah, there's no heat there. It's not going to heat it up. So we're just going to go ahead and unplug that here, because there's no use giving it power when it doesn't work. So we're going to put that up here just in case I'm able to get a refund on it, because that will not be used. Okay, so I have all kinds of molds out. The Marigold Festival for our small town here is coming up very soon. I am still preparing for it. So we are doing another pour tonight. I just heard my husband come in. He doesn't want to interrupt. You can come through if you want. And this time I am going to use mica powder instead of alcohol ink for my coloring. I've heard that it has a lot truer color, in that it just makes your products look a lot better. So we're going to try that. I got a new, I think it was like a 24 pack in there. So we're going to do a few things with that. Now, the one thing that I've been having a lot of problems with was the role-playing dice. I've not gotten a set to come out right yet. Last time I found a defect in my mold. So I contacted the person who made it, and she was so generous. She had me send it back to her, and she gave me a new one. Sent me a new one, and she gave me some tips on how to keep the epoxy from bubbling, which is why I had the heating pad. So I think what I'll do is I'll just use my heat gun and I'll heat it up a little before I pour it. And that's what the stirrer is for. It's supposed to also help with the bubbles. So, looking at my markers, we're going to put it here. We're going to kind of flip that down. Turn you more towards the table so you can see what's going on. Let me get my gloves on. So, I am using a different kind of epoxy that I never used before, because the kind I normally use was not available when I made my order from Amazon. Okay, I think I need to go to a bigger size glove, because every time I try to put these on, I rip them. Let me see here. There we go. These work. All right, so the epoxy, I always use an epoxy that is a 1-to-1 ratio. It tends to work better for what I do. So let me grab that. Oh, come on. Partner didn't want to come. Okay, so I picked out colors for everything that I want to do. But that doesn't mean anything. Sometimes I'll pick out the colors, but if I start with something and I have an overflow, then something's getting changed on the color. Okay. Because I'm not going to waste epoxy or the resin or the hardener, as this stuff is not cheap. And as a startup business, I can't afford that extra waste. So we use every bit that we can. So we are going to start with the dice just so we can be done with it and we don't have to worry about it. I don't really need a whole 3 ounces for that. So I'm only going to mix up 2. And it's very important that you're very careful to make sure that you get the right ratio. If you don't put enough hardener in there, then your item, your finished item, will be soft and flexible and bendable. And it may be one of those to where it's nice and tight and strong when you first start messing with it, but the longer you have it in your hands, the more it will become flexible. I wasn't sure what was happening with mine on why they were doing that, and I was trying to troubleshoot and find out what was going on. And then the last time I ran out of epoxy, I realized that I still had a quarter of a bottle of hardener. So it comes to find out that when my husband's helping me, he wasn't paying close enough attention. And he didn't think it was that important. So when I showed him what happened, he's like, oh, I will have to make sure I pay attention. So it was just a thing that he just didn't know. And now that he does, he'll know to pay attention and make sure that he gets it right. And I always make a mess, which is why my table is covered in a silicone pad. So that when I'm done pouring, before I start mixing or anything, I keep paper towels behind me so I can just wipe off the sides so I don't get it everywhere, wipe off the bottom, and clean up the area right in front of me. I only do that because otherwise I end up getting it on my arms as well, and then it ends up everywhere. So we clean that up, and we're going to try this little device. Now, the way this device works, if you hit it once, it's on slow. You hit it twice, it turns off. Second time, you're on medium, off, fast, off. And it does that every single time you turn it on or off. So now we should be set back at slow. You're going to put that in there. And it is not strong enough to mix the epoxy. So we'll try it at 2. And there we go. 2 mixes it pretty okay, kind of. So let's try 3. There we go. 3 mixes it. Okay, so you know what? I'll pick the phone up so you guys can see. As you can see, that is the fast speed. And you saw how fast it was going outside with nothing in it. I would not recommend this product. This is not strong enough for epoxy. I don't believe that this will last more than a month in my practice. And the heating pad does not even heat up at all. So, I don't even know if I'll even attempt using it again. I think I would most likely just get a different one, because now what's going to happen is I'm going to turn it off, I'm going to pull it out, and I'm just going to stir in the coloring by hand, because I'm not going to mess with this anymore. It doesn't do what it needs to do. Okay, so for these, we were going to do, you know what? Let's do them burgundy. Now we'll do a scarlet, because if there's any left over, then I can put it in the dragons. Okay, so this mica powder came with this little spoon, which says that you don't need much. So we're going to take this little spoon, and we're just going to take one spoonful at a time as we stir it in, just to see how much we actually need, because I've not used this type of mica powder before. So I'm not exactly sure how much we need or anything like that. When I start with something new, I always start with a small amount and we work from there. That is a very pretty red color that is coming out of this. And they are right, it is a much more true color of red. I have never gotten this true red out of any of the alcohol inks I've used. And I've used quite a few trying to get the right colors that I want. This is so much nicer. It almost looks like paint. Okay, so I'm going to show it to you before I heat it up with the heat gun. So here is what it looks like now before I heat it. Sorry. Okay, let me get my big old fat hands out of the way and find out. Here, let's do it this way. Okay, so here is what it looks like now before I heat it up. It almost looks like either paint or nail polish or something along those lines. With this one, that was just 1 scoop of mica powder and 2 ounces of resin epoxy. So, because the heating pad didn't work, we are going to try to heat this up with the heat gun. And it doesn't need to be warmed up that much, just enough to try to get some bubbles out. You don't want just the surface. You want to stir it as you got the heat gun on it so that it will heat all of the epoxy that you have in this container. Because it's not going to do you any good to just heat one layer. You want it all warmed. Well, good thing that was empty. That is also why I only work with 1 container at a time, because I'm a klutz. Okay, so it looks like I don't have any more bubbles in here, which is a very good thing, because that's the biggest problem I was having with this mold, was all the bubbles. So I'm going to turn you to see this. I am hoping and hoping and hoping that tomorrow when I demold, that this will finally give me the answer I wanted to see. I'm going to turn you so you can see these here. Can you see this mold? Okay, this mold is for the dice. As you can see, it doesn't look like there's much to it. But when you get down like in this one here, it goes back into here, over into here. This one goes up over here. This one goes over into here. So they expand into the box. So what I do is I pour into each one of them till I get to the top. And it kind of overflows just a little, which is not a big deal because I'm going to have to go back and clear out the air bubbles of those corners that are hiding in there. And because I'm on an epoxy, or I'm on a silicone mat, it will be fine because it'll just like wipe right off of the mat. So I take an angled wooden tool and I poke it into all the little corners. And I get all those bubbles, make sure I got the epoxy, the liquid, into all those corners in there. See, now that was overflowing, now it needs more. And you do that to every single one to make sure you get all those bubbles out. Now there's a few of these that you'll see that are just holes, like circle holes. Those are to make sure that you line up your lid correctly, because some of the numbers for these, like the numbers that are going to be on the side that's facing up, are on the lid. Okay, now I'm going to show you this because as you can see, not with that hand on that, all the air bubbles that I caused to come up by doing that. And that's when you grab the heat gun again. And that will get rid of the rest of the bubbles. And that will hopefully get rid of the rest of the bubbles. And then I can pour in some more, but we still had some more left. We should have enough to finish this up, put in what still needs to be filled up on some of these, and I'll use what's on there that overflowed to put back into them. And then also do the dragons. So this was mainly about the equipment that I had gotten, and I wanted to use this for a review, but I will also put this up on my YouTube channel so that it can show you how you can improvise when your equipment doesn't work and you find things that you already have to make it work and make things continue to progress even though you don't have what you thought you had. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment, and please click on the subscribe button right under. Thanks.